Starting off our list today at number 10, we have the ex-wife interview. Jada is known to invite just about everyone on her Red Table talk show. So it really shouldn't be a surprise when we found out that she invited Will Smith's ex-wife, Cherie. And during the interview, they would talk about a time that Jada actually thought it was okay to discipline Will's son, Trey. With both ladies describing their sides of the story, Jada would start things off by saying, "I can remember some times that I really crossed the line. There was one time Trey had a play date and he misbehaved, and I was like, we gotta sit down, we gotta talk about this. Trey can't be behaving this way." And Cherie shared her version by adding, "I literally walked into the house, just dropped him off, and as I walked in, Jada was like, 'Listen, we gotta talk about his behavior,' and I was like, 'Go get his daddy, please. Why were you talking about what happens at my house over here? This behavior was at my house, but you can't really discipline someone else's kids and think it's okay." Number 9, forced marriage interview. During an interview with People magazine, Jada would tell the media outlet that she never wanted to get married, and she ultimately only ended up getting married because her mother told her she had to get married. With Jada's mother being old and Will wanting a family, in the end Jada agreed to getting married as she was forced to believe that it was something she really should have done. Even though she admitted that she fell hard for Will when they first started dating in 1995, she would also admit that after she got pregnant with their son Jaden 2 years later, she wasn't necessarily down to have a traditional wedding. Later on in the interview, Jada would then say that the reason she was having so much doubt when it came to the idea to marriage, even though she adored Will, was because she never really seen a happy marriage and it made her not fond of the idea. And honestly, that's probably why she ended up cheating on Will in the first place. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming at number 8, we have Willow's photo. When Jada sat down for an interview with high-end shopping site Net-a-Porter, she would have to come to her daughter's defense again after she was asked about the controversial photo of Willow being 13 years old laying in bed with a shirtless 20-year-old photographer. Jada would then go on to tell the interviewer, "Just don't pollute something that's not dirty. It's really tough. I feel like the connection to value of woman on a bigger scale has decreased tremendously. Even though you look and go, women have so many opportunities," and it's like, yeah, but at what cost? Are women valued for being women, or are they valued when they have more masculine qualities? She then went on to note that she just wants her kids to be happy and just wants them to be themselves, as her kids aren't her and she can't fix things that happen to her by projecting her thoughts onto her kids because it's a terrible trap, and that's why she stood by Willow's decision and made all of us cringe in the process. Number 7, Scientology. Okay, so we all know Jada's a little weird, and that's probably because over the last decade she's been trying to deny that she has any affiliation with the Church of Scientology. And then after she was exposed by an ex-Scientologist for not only being spotted at the Celebrity Center, but also for opening a school for the controversial religion for kids, Jada would then bring Lee on her Red Table talk show, and she would clear the air by trying to settle their dispute back in 2018. And in the interview, it definitely had a lot of us raising our eyebrows because we just couldn't believe that Jada was lying through her teeth just to justify why she was going to the church in the first place. During the interview, Jada would say, "My grandmother was like, you're gonna learn all the religions, and then you gotta decide which one you want to practice. I always took the position that I'm here at the Scientology Center to learn what I want to learn, and I have no interest in being a Scientologist." And that statement would have been fine if it was the truth, but you can't open a Scientology school for kids and then say you have no intention of being a Scientologist when you're already affiliated with the religion. Number 6, parenting. With Jada and Will Smith being A-list celebrities at one point, it's no surprise that their children also grew up in the limelight. However, as any aspect of a celebrity, being a famous parent has sometimes led to increased scrutiny for Jada. Jada's and Will's parenting has often come under fire for years, which would then cause Jada to sit down with US Weekly to explain the Smiths are very open about a wide variety of subjects when she said, "I'm not a conventional parent," which I take a lot of pride in. And then in 2018, Jada would also admit that she and Will had different parenting approaches and often argued over the subjects like their son Jaden Smith wearing a skirt. She would then take to her Red Table talk show to embarrass her husband by saying he has his feelings on that for sure. I remember Will calling me and being like, "Have you talked about this with Jaden and him wearing a skirt?" And I said, "Yes, I have. He's pretty happy about it." But honestly, the fact that she's gotten her kids to even turn on their father during interviews just proves that she isn't exactly the role model parent everybody should be following. Number 5, open marriage. Jada and Will Smith have faced a lot of scrutiny over their marriage to the point they have become a laughingstock or a hero to other people who have a non-conventional approach when it comes to their love life. In 2013, Jada would sit down for an interview with HuffPost Live, and she would admit more fuel to the fire behind the rumors surrounding her open marriage, when she would insist that she and Will had no claim over each other's lives. She would then go on to say, "I've always told Will, you can do whatever you want as long as you can look at yourself in the mirror and be okay." She then insisted that she was here to be his partner, but at the end of the day, Will had to learn how to be his own man. After the interview started to go viral, it faced a lot of backlash, and Jada would head to her Facebook page to clear everything up by saying, "Will and I can do whatever we want because we trust each other to do so. This doesn't mean we have to be in an open relationship, this means we have grown." But if you aren't in an open relationship, how do you explain your affair with August Alsina? And how are you able to look at yourself in the mirror and be okay with the fact that you embarrass your husband every single day? Number 4, interviewed herself. In the aftermath of the whole August Alsina interview, Jada Pinkett Smith would admit that there was some healing that needed to take place, and she would tweet that she would be interviewing herself as the next subject on her Red Table Talk episode, and Will Smith would be joining her. In the episode, we would see Will share his side of the story, and watching him find peace in the process while bringing up all of his core thoughts of pain was honestly just heartbreaking to see. Although Jada would confirm that she had an affair with August, she also went on to clarify that her and Will were temporarily separated when it happened, and then she went on to deny August's allegations of Will giving the singer his blessings. With the interview being watched more than 30 million times, it quickly went viral, and Jada's repeated use of the word entanglement rather than affair became an online target for jokes, as did a picture that showed Will in tears. Number 3, embarrassed Snoop Dogg. With Snoop Dogg being a good friend to Jada Pinkett Smith, I don't think any of us really believed that she could do something so cruel to embarrass her good friend during an interview on her Red Table Talk show. But she did. So we all saw Gayle King come for Kobe in 2020 after he passed away and claimed that the basketball legend was accused of making unwanted advancements towards an unnamed woman. Snoop, being clearly upset with the fact people were choosing to ruin Kobe's legacy in an attempt for fame, would then take to his Instagram to post a video where he would call Gayle out by insulting her appearance and telling her, "Back off, B, before we come get you." As a result of the outburst, Jada would then force the rapper to make an appearance on her Red Table Talk show so she could clear the air. But in the process, she showed no mercy and ended up embarrassing Snoop Dogg by saying, "When you first came out and said what you said, you know, in regards to Gayle, my heart dropped. I felt like not only were you talking to Gayle, but you were also talking to me. I was like, oh no, Snoop has now taken his power flow away from me, away from Willow, away from my mother." Snoop Dogg then ended up feeling so ashamed that he even issued Gayle an apology. But honestly, even though he was in the wrong, there was no need to embarrass him in front of the whole world when this just could have been a private conversation between two old friends. Number 2, racial bias. During a Red Table Talk interview, Jada would reveal what triggers her the most when it comes to white women, when she opened up about her relationship she has with white women and women of color. And then she revealed a surprising revelation of how she views women with blonde hair. When she went on to say, "I think what crushes me specifically in my relationship with white women, the thing that really breaks my heart, is that white women understand what it feels like to be oppressed." She then went on to admit her own racial biases when she said, "I have to admit, I'm guilty to that to a certain degree because I do have my biases, specifically to blonde women. Blonde hair on white women just triggers me. I've had to catch myself." Jada then went on to explain she harbors such hateful thoughts when it comes to white women with blonde hair because all throughout her childhood, all she can remember is being teased by them in regards to her hair, how she looked, and how they made her feel belittled. But I think we can all agree that she was just sneak dissing Margot Robbie. And probably me next, who knows. And coming in number 1 today, we have the dealer interview. When Jada appeared on Sway in the Morning back in 2017, she would reveal a lot of interesting things when it came to her and Tupac. In the interview, when Sway asked her to talk about their relationship, she would say, "One of the things that's very interesting that I've never really said before is that when I first met Pac, when we first met, I was a dealer." Jada then went on to explain that she wasn't going to jump into the full details of their relationship because she was going to write a book on it. But then she would explain that she had to leave that life behind and Pac behind because something really bad happened, so she had to leave. And as she was leaving, Pac was going into it, and there was a point in which she had to go her separate ways from Pac, and she went on to say, and I just felt like, okay, God, one day you're going to do for Pac what you did for me, which is you saved me. It's clear that their relationship was complicated, and we can't really grasp what she was trying to explain about their relationship, but it's clear that their relationship was based on survival more than it was romance.
Number 10, Beyonce. Wendy Williams once sent her fans on a frenzy after she decided to mock the way Beyonce spoke in her HBO documentary Life is But a Dream. Taking to the Wendy Williams show, what started off to be a sweet moment when Williams gushed over the star's music. It quickly turned sour after things got a little awkward when the audience started to turn on her after she said Beyonce couldn't talk. During the episode, Wendy would say, "I am a Beyonce fan. I'm going to be watching this documentary even if she doesn't introduce us to new stuff. I'm watching. I'm watching because fortunately, one of the TVs in our kitchen has closed captions, so I'll be able to understand what she says. You know, Beyonce can't talk. Beyonce sounds like she has a 5th grade education. She can't talk." When the audience started to turn against Wendy, she would then continue on with her rant by saying, "Excuse me, I just said I was a fan, but we have to call a spade a spade. I mean, honestly, and we really have to do the closed captioning just for times like that." Number 9, Ariana Grande. In 2015, Wendy would land herself in hot water with a number of Ariana Grande's fans after she made a few controversial comments about her. The talk show host found herself on the rampant end of criticism after she seemingly body shamed the singer on the Wendy Williams show. The audience initially laughed after the television personality star said, "She's 21. She'll forever look 12. Things would soon take a sharp turn when she said, "And I don't mean that in a good way. It's nice to look younger than you are, but when you look too young and then you're short, well, she's only 4'11". I don't look at her as like a woman." Her comments would soon prompt the hashtag cancel Wendy Williams to trend on Twitter, and fans of Ariana band together to try and get her show taken off the air. And even Miley Cyrus would take to the comments and say, "Standing up for Ariana Grande by using the hashtag cancel Wendy Williams show is not petty. It is showing people like Wendy Williams that it is not okay for people to be belittled in any way. We all know that Ariana will never say something back to Wendy for fear of it becoming another tabloid headline. So we are here to stand up for the one we love, and we will never back down." Hey guys, are you liking this video so far? If so, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Number 8, TMZ. One thing about Wendy is that she never tippy toes around anything. So when she sat down with TMZ to talk about her ongoing medical struggles and starting a new career, she sparked some major concern among her fans. When the star joined TMZ for a live interview, she would tell the outlet why she was turning her back on TV, and instead choosing to produce her own podcast. And for her, it really came down to time and money. Things then took a bizarre turn when she made a bizarre revelation. She shared what her battle with lymphedema was like, having no issue holding up her foot to reveal just how swollen it was from the condition. She would go on to tell viewers that she can only feel about 5% of her feet, but she also explained how she wasn't going to let it slow her down. But from her slurred speech to her shifty eyes, Wendy appeared as though she was trying almost too hard to concentrate on what she was trying to say. At one point, she was just unknowingly repeating and even explaining the word podcast. It was pretty concerning. Number 7, CNN. In an interview back in 2022, Wendy would admit that she was reluctant to remotely film the Wendy Williams show after watching other TV hosts work from their home. In an interview with CNN, Wendy would say that her competitors at home look disgusting, before she explained to the news outlet that she eventually gave in and decided to film at her apartment after having a few conversations with her production team. At first, not having a live studio audience felt weird, but then she remembered her years working as a radio personality. She said, "I've so enjoyed that, but it is much easier for me as a host to be here at home with no audience, because it's always been about description. You know, I've been a radio host longer than I've been a TV host, so yes, right, thank God for the radio." But the fact that she said other TV hosts look disgusting when compared to her working at home was just a little too far. Number 6, Alyssa Milano. Alyssa Milano once had a disagreement over how women choose to feed their young ones in public. After the outspoken breastfeeding advocate had a dispute with the TV host on Wendy's show, Wendy confessed to her that she did not share her views on breastfeeding in public. She said, "I don't need to see that." She then went on to say that she would personally take her kid to the car before allowing people to see her feed them in public. She said, "I just don't want to." Alyssa then suggested that society thinks too much of this when it comes to things like this, as it only happens during a particular amount of time. Alyssa then drew big applause from the audience after she went on to close the discussion and said, "You're lucky the baby is not here. I'd whip them out and feed him right on your show." She went on to note that breastfeeding is an amazing process and that women are the most perfect machines ever made. Number 5. Michael Jackson. The Leaving Neverland documentary highlighted two people's stories when it came to Michael Jackson making unwelcome advances on them. It left fans, supporters, and fellow celebrities on opposite sides of the fence. Back in 2019, Wendy would even weigh in on the issue when she offered up her opinions on the 4-hour documentary, denouncing all the claims that had been made on her talk show. When introducing the hot topic to her audience members, Wendy didn't bite her tongue. She went on to share her thoughts. With Michael being accused of engaging in intimate relationships with people much younger than him, the radio host went on to reveal that she believes these revived accusations were brought into play for an ulterior motive. She said, "I do believe that this is a money grab for families, but with the topic being such a sensitive issue, many fans called her out as it just shouldn't have been spoken on TV. And if you didn't see what she said, please go and look it up because it was honestly just too gross to hear." Number 4. Marcus Scribner. Back in 2018, Wendy decided to go straight for the birds and the bees conversation when she sat down with actor Marcus Scribner, who is known for his role on the hit show Blackish. With Marcus being a relatively private person, it was rumored that he was in a relationship in 2020, and he was not one to give away much about his personal life. Marcus appeared as if he didn't want to share any details about the mystery woman in his life, but many fans were curious to know all the details about everyone he is dating. Fortunately for fans, Marcus would briefly touch on the topic when he made an appearance on the Wendy Williams show. He told Wendy, "Currently, it's complicated. We've got stuff going on. Yeah, I'll leave it at that." He then refused to add any details, even after Wendy asked him if he has ever had a bird and the bee intimacy level with anyone. Feeling uncomfortable by her question, Marcus would go on to say, "Wendy is trying to hit me with the difficult questions. I'll leave it a mystery for the audience." However, that's just a creepy question for any 50-year-old to ask an 18-year-old. Number 3. Drea Michele. When Drea made an appearance on Wendy's show, she became a hot topic in the tabloids, as Drea really handled all of Wendy's digs like a champ. And I personally would put Wendy in her place if she ever asked me some of the questions that she asked Drea. In the interview, she would pretty much imply that Drea gets around when she went on to ask her, "How many basketball players have you been with?" Wendy then tried to embarrass her even further in an attempt to shame her for her intimate choices. She turned to the audience and said, "If you don't watch the show, that seems like Wendy, you're crazy, but she's been this girl that's gotten around." Dre would then clear up the rumors by saying it's been over 3 years since she's dated any basketball players, and that she wasn't afraid of her past as anything you do in your past can be cleaned up. Number 2. Dionne Warwick. In December of 2020, Wendy would come under fire after she made fun of Dionne Warwick. The star, who had been tweeting about artist stage names, would say that she has never been involved in the Twitter sphere. Instead, she watches TV, sings songs, reads books, socializes, or moisturizes her hair. Before going on to say, "I think if you're a person of a particular age, you need to be on social media and you need to get down sometimes and talk to these kids. Not to talk to them, but you really do need someone young in your family just to make sure that you're coming off correct." She then responded to Wendy's statement on Twitter, saying, "A friend alerted me that Wendy Williams was spending a lot of not nice time speaking to me. I tuned into her show to catch the last few minutes of her speaking about me, and as in the past, she seems not to be able to speak without making malicious comments. My hope is that my name will refrain from being spoken or thought of by her, as this conversation was held a few years ago, letting her know that there would not be any need for her to say my name. I don't believe anyone has to be mean to get noticed." And coming in at number 1, Keke Palmer. The actress is well known for being outspoken, and that's why we love her. So when Wendy tried to discuss the incident that surrounds Keke and Trey's songs, it would prompt her to tell Williams directly that she disagreed with how the host presented the story. After stopping by on the talk show to promote her new book, Keke would bring up the incident with Williams while putting her on blast for how she chose to defend songs. She went on to say, "I will say, Wendy, I would have loved to turn on your show and see you be a little more compassionate and a little less accusatory." After a bit more awkward conversation, Keke went on to remind her that it matters how hosts and other late night profile figures speak about certain issues, and said it wasn't right to tell girls it was okay for them to feel weird and awkward in situations, and that people need to start saying no when things don't feel right, because it's okay to say no.
Starting off our list today in the number 10 spot, we have The Entanglement. Jada pretty much devoted a 2020 episode to her relationship with her husband Will Smith during an episode of her controversial Facebook watch series, The Red Table Talk Show. When the couple sat down to discuss our R&B singer August Alsina's claim that he got Will's blessing to have a relationship with Jada. On the show, Jada would admit that she did start a relationship with August during a brief separation from Will around 4 years prior. Will would then come out to say, "I was done with you. We decided that we were going to go separate ways for a period of time, and you would figure out how to make yourself happy, and I'll figure out how to make myself happy. I really wished we could be over." Jada then went on to elaborate on what she was doing within the brief break when she said, "I got into a different kind of entanglement with August. It was a relationship, absolutely. I was in a lot of pain and I was very broken." Jada then went on to note that the process of her relationship helped her realize that she couldn't find happiness outside of herself, and she was lucky that her and Will realized that they just couldn't stay away from each other. Number 9. Discipline Trey. When it comes to discipline, we all know that Will and Jada have chosen to let their kids deal with their own consequences, and maybe this is because Jada once tried to discipline Will's first son Trey, which he shares with his ex-wife. Back in 2018, Jada would invite Will's ex-wife to join her on an episode of the Red Table Talk Show, and in the midst of the episode, they would talk about co-parenting Will's son Trey and how Jada had some regrets when it came to it. With the two ladies having a really tough relationship at the beginning of their blended family situation, Cherie Zampino would reveal that they once even had a heated conversation on the phone where they exchanged some fighting words, as she called to talk to her son, but first she had to speak to Jada. And in the process, Cherie revealed that she wasn't being really respectful, and she even told Jada she was living in the house that she picked, to the point Jada also said, "It's my house now." Jada would also open up about the time she tried to discipline Trey, to the point Will even had to step in and put the star into her place and tell her that it was his son, not hers. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you never have to miss on what we might just cover next. Coming in at number 8, we have The Root of the Matter. In the web series' 3rd episode, Jada would confess that the head wrap she was wearing with increasing frequency wasn't just a fashion statement, because in reality the star had been losing handfuls of hair, and with it she couldn't pinpoint the reason. Doctors then suspected that it could be because she was having a stress-related alopecia episode. Jada then went on to share the moment when she first realized her hair was falling out by saying, "It was one of those times in my life where I was literally shaking with fear, and that when I was like, oh my god, am I going bald?" She then put things in a spiritual perspective to get through it. The higher power takes so much from people, and by golly, if the higher power wants to take your hair, that's it. God, you want my hair? When I looked at it in that perspective, it really did settle. Number 7. Jordyn Woods. 2019 was definitely an intense year for Jordyn Woods when she got caught up in the Tristan Thompson cheating scandal and saw the first initial split between him and Khloe Kardashian. After the Kardashians went on to drag Jordyn's name by March 2019, Jordyn would be ready to share her side of the story. And she even took a lie detector test to prove her involvement in the dissolution of Khloe and Tristan's relationship wasn't all on her. In the interview, Jordyn would reveal that she never once danced with the star, she was never making out with him, and she didn't sit all over him, and he was actually just hanging out with her and a group of her friends. In the end, Jordyn would tell Jada that she just wanted everyone to be accountable for their own actions, and she didn't want anybody to feel the way she had been feeling. By December of 2019, her results of the lie detector test would come back and prove that she passed and she was 100% honest. When she was asked multiple questions about her involvement with Tristan Thompson in the scandal. Number 6. Olivia Jade. In December 2020, Olivia Jade would make her first appearance on the Red Table Talk Show following the college admission scandal, in which her parents paid roughly $500,000 to secure Olivia and her sister admission at the University of Southern California. Jade, who is a YouTube influencer, noticeably went quiet during the Varsity Blues investigation that found both of her parents to be guilty in the process. She decided after Jada convinced her that the Red Table Talk was the right place for her to share her side of the story, as when she finally made it onto the show, she would say, "I'm here because I want to leave it on the Red Table Talk Show. I don't want to keep dragging this throughout my life." During the episode, Jada's mother was not impressed with Jade taking a seat, and she would say, "I just found it really ironic that she chose 3 black women to reach out for her redemption story. It's bothersome to me on so many levels. Her being here is an epitome of white privilege." Number 5. Betrayals of the Heart. In an episode posted to Jada's controversial Red Table Talk Show watch series, she would get real when she opened up about her marriage and how it wasn't easy and that there was a lot of betrayals when it came to her and her husband's Will's heart. While Jada used the episode to explain all the nagging rumors that were surrounding her marriage with Will and apparently how the couple aren't with each other, she also went on to allude the worst transgressions she has noticed in their marriage. When Jada finally dived into the infidelity part of their relationship, she would say, "I'm asked a lot about it. Is there infidelity in your relationship with Will?" And it's like, no, but there have been other betrayals of the heart that have been far bigger than what I could think in regards to an infidelity situation. But what's more worse than cheating on your partner? Can someone just explain that to me? Number 4. Matthew McConaughey. During Matthew McConaughey's interview on the Red Table Talk Show, he would reveal that he and his mother, fellow guest Kay McConaughey, had fallen out over her interactions with the press, an estrangement that lasted from 1996 to 2004, when he said, "As soon as I got famous, I started to have my weekly Sunday call home to call my mom. Mother wasn't answering the phone. A fan of my fame was answering the phone." This then resulted in Matthew to have to take a step back in his life so he could figure out how he could balance his life and how fame was affecting it. As when he was sharing his personal details of his life with his mom, he would be finding them shortly show up in the 6 o'clock news 3 days later. So it resulted him not being able to talk to his mom as his mom for about 8 years. Number 3. The birds and the bees. It's not really surprising, considering Jada has been really open about her life in the bedroom, that a lot of her conversations and interviews on the Red Table Talk Show have become intimate stories that have worked their way from the bedroom into Red Table discussions. So much so, in fact, Jada has devoted an entire episode to talk about the birds and the bees. In the episode, Jada would learn Willow's first introduction and when it happened when she walked in on both her mom and dad, and how Jada even joked about it on ET, saying, "Oh my god, I need to get this child some therapy." She was actually really embarrassed. But it couldn't get any worse as she revealed information on the intimate episode and when she was acutely aware of her children's experiences and how she just wants to input it into their conversation. But the whole thing was just really weird, because what kind of parent invests themselves that hard into their child's business? Number 2. Jaden Smith. Celebrity parents clearly aren't immune to parenting heartbreaks, as Jada once even had to bring her son Jaden Smith on an episode of her show to speak about his emancipation thoughts. During the episode, Jada would say, "At 15 years old, Jaden and I remember this day specifically. It's probably one of the most heartbreaking moments of my life. You got to a point where you told me straight up, you were like, 'Mom, I have to leave here to live my life.'" Despite being devastated, Jada knew that she had to honor her son's feelings, adding, "Being in this lifestyle and in this world is a bubble and he wanted out. I understood that because I didn't have the bubble. I knew that having my freedom outside the bubble, what I gained from that. I knew the sooner I let him go, the faster he was going to come back. But if your child feels like they have to run away, then there's truly a problem." And coming in number 1 today, we have Girls Trippin'. After nearly 2 decades of not talking to each other, not even Jada Pinkett Smith knew why she and Gabrielle Union had been locked in a feud for so long. So on May 28, 2020, during an episode of the Red Table Talk Show, the host invited her old friend on the show so they could once and for all settle their beef and squabble like grown women in order to do so. When announcing their feud, Jada would then come out to say, "Gabrielle and I were never really girlfriends. We were greatly associated that at some point that dissolved. And for like 17 years, we have not really spoken. We don't even know why we were so mad and what we were mad about." Jada would then go on to note that the whole thing was just very petty. Gabrielle was just happy that the two could finally come to a place of healing, and with it, she would share her side of the story by saying, "I'm a hater, I'm a troll," before explaining if it wasn't for her life coach, she would have never seen how her choices were affecting her life so negatively, and it was also taking a toll on her personal relationships. Starting off our list today at number 10, we have Ariana Grande. When Ariana Grande was minding her own business on Ryan Seacrest's radio show, out of nowhere, Ryan decided it would be a good idea to ask Ariana about her relationship with Mac Miller when he brought up a photo of her wrapped around Miller's neck. Ryan then went on to tell Ariana that she confirmed the pair's relationship, to which Ariana responded by saying, "Oh, is that what I did? Is that what Instagram means to you?" When Seacrest then continued to press Ariana for details, she simply then clapped back by saying, "If I post something, then that's what I'm willing to share at the moment. It doesn't mean that to you, Ryan Seacrest, with millions of listeners, are entitled to more information." Hopefully next time Ryan will think before he asks another question like this again. Number 9. Taylor Swift. Back in 2014, when Taylor Swift was promoting her album, she stopped by Australia's 2Day FM, where she was asked to share her feelings with regards to the critics who claim her songs only pertain to her romantic relationships. And to no surprise, Taylor wasn't happy with the question, as she responded by saying, "You're going to have people who are gonna say, oh, you know, like she just writes about her ex-boyfriends." And I think frankly, that's just a very sexist angle to take. No one asked that about Ed Sheeran. No one asked that about Bruno Mars. They're all writing songs about their exes, their current girlfriends, their love life. No one raises a red flag there, which was honestly a pretty solid point. Today it just seems like everybody wants to forget it needs to be like a double standard situation, and I just don't get why women still have it harder than men. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming number 8, we have Rihanna. When Rihanna was speaking to MTV News at the launch of her new fragrance in Atlanta, she would admit that she loves the way it smells on men, and that she was excited for the chance one day to spray it on her new boyfriend. But the star also didn't mind the fact that she didn't have a man. But that didn't mean she couldn't treat herself to the scent in the meantime, when she said, "Of course, now I need a man to put it on. Now I have to wear it myself." What started off as this really cute interview, however, would soon turn sour after the interviewer asked her if she was single, to which Rihanna would confess that she was happily single and that she wasn't really looking for a new romance, and sort of like clap back at the interview when she said, "I'm not looking for a man, let's start there." Number 7. Zendaya. While eFashion Police provides a platform for fashion commentators to discuss the stylistic choices celebrities make on the red carpet, from time to time the commentary does tend to go a little too far, especially when the host is Juliana Rancic. During one of the events, Juliana decided it would be a great idea to write some less appropriate things about actress Zendaya, which is a little miraculous considering the actress is one of the most beautiful people on the planet. But at the 2015 Academy Awards, when Zendaya showed up with her hair styled in dreadlocks, the choice didn't go over so well with Juliana, as she went on to say that the style made her feel like Zendaya smells like patchouli oil or weed, which is an absurd comment. Not only did Rancic's comments spark outrage with viewers and online, but Zendaya also took to her Instagram to clap back at the host by stating certain remarks cannot go unchecked, while calling the comments outrageously offensive and a large stereotype. Number 6. Megan Fox. So during an appearance back in 2009 on Jimmy Kimmel Live, Megan Fox rehashed her time as a Bad Boy 2 extra, a role she landed when she was only 15 years old. Because Fox wasn't old enough to legally hold a drink or sit at the bar, director Michael Bay came up with an alternative plan. Instead, he had her dress up in a bikini and 6-inch heels to dance underneath a waterfall. She would then tell Jimmy that this was sort of a microcosm of how Bay's mind was working. In response, Jimmy then went on to say, "Well, that's really a microcosm of how our minds work. Some of us have the decency to repress those thoughts and pretend they don't exist." He then went on to laugh. Later, when the interview resurfaced on Twitter 11 years later, people were appalled by Jimmy's reaction to Megan's story, and they even demanded an apology from the late night host. Number 5. Scarlett Johansson. When Scarlett Johansson sat down with her co-star Jeremy Renner for an interview with Extra in 2012, out of nowhere the reporter went on to ask the actress if she wore underwear underneath her Black Widow costume. Scarlett then responded to him by saying, "You're like the 5th person that asked me that today." The actress then went on to continue to say, "What is going on? Since when do people start asking each other in interviews about their underwear?" The interviewer then went on to justify his question by trying to explain that he only asked the question because she was wearing a costume that was skin tight. Having enough of the question, Scarlett cut him off and said, I'll leave it up to your imagination, whatever you feel like I should be wearing or not wearing under the costume. But honestly, why are men like this sometimes? Number 4, Anne Hathaway. While Anne Hathaway was speaking to X Show with reporter Jerry Penacoli about her role as Catwoman in the 2012 film The Dark Knight Rises, Anne had to unfortunately keep her cool as she tried to navigate through a series of questions about her body. After Jerry decided to talk about Anne's feline fitness routine by noting that Anne had to be in perfect shape for the film, Anne would then respond to Jerry by saying it wasn't about being in perfect shape, it was about being able to do the stunts and fighting perfectly. When Jerry went on to ask Anne about the form-fitting costume she wore, she would then patiently tell him that the suit didn't feel like sweatpants, and then shifted her attention to her male co-star, Christian Bale, saying he had it worse since his costume covered his ears. Question about her body then continued, and Jerry asked her about her diet and exercise routine leading up to the film, which Anne responded by saying boring before clapping back at Jerry saying, "Are you trying to lose weight? What's the deal, man? You look great." Number 3, Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj has no time for your rudeness, and she clearly has strong opinions. While Nicki did an interview with New York Times magazine, when the reporter asked the rapper if she enjoyed the drama of all the feuds surrounding her life before naming the drama between Meek Mills and Drake among others, she definitely didn't get the answer she was looking for after Nicki said, "Why would a grown woman thrive off drama? What do the 4 men you just named have to do with me thriving off drama?" Nicki then went on to tell the reporter who was asking her ill-advised questions that she was disrespectful and she didn't care to speak to her anymore, which was a pretty iconic statement on how women in the industry should be shutting down rude questions like a total boss. Number 2, Dakota Johnson. So back in 2019, Dakota Johnson appeared on Ellen DeGeneres' show, but little did she know that she would go down in history after the standard interview swiftly took a chaotic turn when Ellen decided she would throw some shade at Dakota because she didn't invite Ellen to her birthday party, which happened 2 months prior to the interview. When Ellen went on to say, "You turned 30, how was the party? I wasn't invited," to which Dakota quickly responded by saying, "Actually no, that's not the truth, Ellen." She then went on to say, "Last time I was on the show last year, you gave me a bunch of hell about not inviting you, but I didn't even know you wanted to be invited. I didn't even know you liked me." Visibly started, Ellen then replied by saying, "Of course I like you. You knew I like you. You've been on the show many times. Don't I like the show? Like?" Dakota then swiftly doubled down on her stance by adding, "I did invite you, and you didn't come. Ask everybody," before turning to Ellen's producers for backup, and they confirmed that the host was indeed invited to the party, and she just chose not to come. And coming in at number 1 today, we have Fifth Harmony. So when Fifth Harmony announced Camila Cabello's exit from the group, it didn't stop journalists from all over the world trying to create drama when it came to the reason to why Camila left. When the Sun associate director Dan Wootton had an interview with the group, he continued to ask questions after questions about Camila. He then went on to try to get shady responses out of them. Dan would then go on to say, "Camila seemed to say that she was upfront and honest about why she wanted to leave, but you guys said those conversations hadn't taken place." There was then this really awkward pause before one of them replied, "Right now, we're really focused on each other. We're so excited in the now, and we have so much to look forward to." The publicist then jumped into the conversation to get Dan to talk about the band's new music, and then you could hear all the girls kind of mumble in the background when they said things like, "What is this?" and "so shady." Starting off our list today at number 10, we have Isaac Mizrahi. While Isaac Mizrahi was acting as an interviewer for E! on the red carpet for the Golden Globes, he would have a troubling interview with Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett, who was attending as a supporting actress nominee for Match Point, would be left feeling shocked after Isaac decided to touch her chest in the interview because he wanted to know if the actress had a bra under her stunning red dress. As he gave it a quick squeeze, he would then say, "I'm just taking notes for next time I make a..." Then he would be cut off by Scarlett, who said, "What is going on?" And then she said, "Absolutely take all the notes you want." The actress then later said, "Oh my god," while Isaac did later apologize for offending anyone. The Academy of Motion Pictures of Arts then had to issue their own statement when they said, "I can predict we would be extraordinary angry if that happened on our red carpet. I cannot predict what we would do afterwards." Number 9. Kesha. Remember that time when Jerry Seinfeld savagely refused to hug Kesha during a red carpet interview? Not once, not twice, but 3 painful times. It was truly the stuff of nightmares, but watching it from the comfort of our own homes made for some great laughs. Although Kesha was silent about the issue for some time, she would come out in 2017 to break the silence on what happened after she rudely interrupted Jerry in an interview to ask him for a hug. Jerry would then later sit down for an interview with AJ Calloway where he explained that he didn't hug Kesha because he simply didn't know her and admitted, "I'm 63. I don't know every pop star. I have to meet someone to say hello. Gotta start somewhere." For Kesha's part, she remained pretty quiet on the whole issue as she was presumably recovering from all the overwhelming embarrassment of being rejected so publicly like that. However, a day after the video went viral, she did post an Instagram photo of her cat with some pretty suggestive hashtags. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and, subscribe to the channel. Coming number 8, we have Tommy Lee Jones. When Joan and Melissa Rivers were asked who their least favorite person to interview on the red carpet was, they didn't have to think twice before responding, and they both ended up saying Tommy Lee Jones. In 2013, HuffPost Live asked the famous mother and daughter duo about their worst celebrity interview, and Melissa immediately said Tommy Lee Jones, to which Joan responded by saying, "Oh, without a question." HuffPost then went on to ask the pair to elaborate on the assertion, to which Melissa went on to know, "He's at the top of everybody's list. He doesn't want to be there, he's unhappy doing the red carpet, and he's going to make everyone else around him just as unhappy in the experience." Joan then would go on to sum up the issue nicely by saying, "Jones went to Harvard and is very impressed by that accomplishment." She then went on to say, "We all went to Ivy League schools, calm down." Number 7. John Travolta. In 2015, John Travolta once again became the talk of the Oscars after he had a pretty off encounter with Scarlett Johansson that had some of us scratching our heads. Scarlett, who co-starred with John in the film A Love Story for Bobby Long, told the Associated Press that the picture of him kissing her on the red carpet was taken out of context. She then went on to say there is nothing strange, creepy, or inappropriate about John Travolta. The image that is circulating is unfortunate, still framed from a live action encounter that was a very sweet and total welcome. She then went on to add that the photo did not reflect the live moment and that we were all being misguided and misinformed, and that she hadn't seen John in some years and it was always a pleasure to be greeted by him, yet her face in the photo said otherwise. Number 6. Ryan Seacrest. In 2019, Grammy viewers would slam Ryan Seacrest for his awkward Lady Gaga red carpet interview. When Ryan tried to interview the superstar, he didn't so much ask her questions as he just chose to speak to her. And when Lady Gaga did try to speak, Ryan would just end up cutting her off without even giving her the chance to speak properly. He then went on to tell her that she should be performing at the Oscars, for which she is a multiple nominee for, and she responded by saying, "That was like, answer my question, but I'm not asking one." Ryan then tried to recover from the interview, but then made an awkward joke about him not asking her questions before saying they were cutting to break. Gaga was a good sport in handling the awkward interview, playing along with his joke that carried on for way too long as there was a delay in going to the advertisements. Before the interview was over, she did pull a host of awkward faces before eventually hugging Ryan and leaving. Number 5. David Lee Roth. In 2019, David Lee Roth had a pretty bizarre red carpet interview that taught us all that you can either wear all sorts of outlandish things or nothing, and you can also be as provocative as you want in the name of artistry, and flaunt your questionable decisions all over social media. The king of being completely insane during the red carpet interview will always go to David Lee Roth. David, who was set to perform at the Billboard Music Awards, was being interviewed by E! On the red carpet special. During the interview, he would start out on solid footing, discussing Van Halen's dance influence and how what they did in the 80s has informed today's pop music, which was okay. But things took a quick turn when he decided to quickly go off the rails, and somehow West Side Story, Lowriders, and David's abundance of black and Hispanic friends all came up. The whole interview was just him inspiring to get on Miley's level style of interviews, and it was just completely weird. Go give it a watch. Number 4, Tiffany Haddish. When Entertainment Tonight's Lauren Zima seemed to have accidentally called Tiffany Haddish's new Oscar after-party dress a costume change, things quickly went south, and when Tiffany fired back at Lauren saying, "I'm not wearing a costume, I'm wearing Dolce & Gabbana," the actress was clearly not done firing back at the reporter when she then went on to educate her on costumes and outfits by saying, "It's called an evening gown, darling. No one is paying for this. I paid for it. It's custom. Thank you." That's when the reporter jokingly announced it was her time to pass away, pretended to faint in an attempt to ease the tension, and Tiffany's response, may I add, was, "This is what fame looks like, this is what success looks like, this is what money looks like." And yeah, the moment is just as brutal to watch as you would expect. And take notes, because if it's not Halloween, it's not a costume, and you definitely don't want to make the same mistake unless you want to be embarrassed on the red carpet by some of Hollywood's biggest stars. Coming number 3, we have Jack Harlow. Jack Harlow once left Emma Chamberlain in a pretty awkward red carpet interview. That became one of the most hilarious and viral moments of 2022 when Emma, who is a big YouTuber, was interviewing Jack Harlow for Vogue. What started off as a pretty interesting interview would then randomly turn a different way when Jack decided out of nowhere he was going to hit her with a totally random "love you," and then he quickly turned away and left the interview. Now you're probably wondering what happened next. Well, as the rapper walked away, the camera would zoom in on Emma and it would give us a glorious image of her staring into space and questioning her entire reality, which was honestly a 10 out of 10 reaction, but considering their age difference, the gesture was just completely weird. Number 2, we have Sutton Strachey. Okay, we all know that there's no one more dramatic than the Real Housewives cast, as they always seem to do shady things at the most random times, like the time Sutton Strachey showed up to the People's Choice Awards in 2022. And just like the shows, she brought some drama. When the interviewer asked her if she would like Lisa to return to the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, the reality TV personality definitely didn't have anything nice to say. She then chose to look at the reporter in the camera in total silence, and she stayed like this until the reporter moved on to the next question. It was a question she actually wanted to respond to. The reporter then went on to the next question by saying anyways. But just before, if you caught a look at Sutton, you would see that she was baffled and she looked pretty mean and scary to the point it would have caused any reporter to end the interview and move on to the next star. It's safe to say that Sutton doesn't really like Lisa and doesn't want her to return to the show anytime soon. And coming at number 1 today, we have Sacha Baron Cohen. When he showed up to the red carpet dressed as his character from The Dictator, his look was completely pushing boundaries as he proceeded on the red carpet accompanied by female bodyguards and an urn which he stated was filled with Kim Jong-un's ashes. While the whole interview and actions were very off-putting and not really professional, things took a quick turn to the worst when he decided to accidentally dump the material all over Ryan Seacrest's Burberry tux. While everyone was shocked at what actually happened, Ryan Seacrest actually showed the world what a true professional he is, and he brushed it off. And he brushed it off quite literally, may I add. But still, the interview was pretty disturbing, and Sacha shouldn't be playing sensitive games like that. Starting off our list today at number 10, we have Liam Hemsworth. Thanks to Miley Cyrus's new hit song Flowers, it's been number 1 on the Billboard for 3 weeks, and because the song is so popular, it resurfaced a couple of clips that shows Liam Hemsworth visibly cringing at his ex-wife Miley Cyrus on the red carpet during interviews. In one video, Miley could be seen twerking on Liam at a Vanity Fair Oscars after party in February of 2019. As the two were being interviewed, Liam then backed away quickly and looked incredibly uncomfortable as she danced for the cameras, to which he responded by saying, "Don't do it, don't do it, you're scarring everyone on the red carpet." Miley then immediately stopped and glanced awkwardly at the camera. In another clip uploaded, the couple could be seen attending the Avengers Endgame premiere, and the singer tried to pose cheekily with her husband, and she made this move to lick his neck, and Liam was displeased and told Miley to behave for once. And when he went on to cling onto her waist, she seemed to be very annoyed at his gesture and pushed his hand away, which resulted in him walking away while she continued posing posing on her own. Number 9, Dakota Johnson. What was supposed to be a sweet mother and daughter moment during the Oscars red carpet show ended up becoming one of the night's most awkward interviews, when ABC host Laura Spencer asked the actress Melanie Griffith if she was going to see her daughter's racy movie 50 Shades of Grey. The actress would then quickly respond no before her daughter Dakota Johnson scowled and said, maybe one day. However, then her mom would respond by saying, I don't think I can. I think it would be strange. Well, she's a good actress. I don't need to see that to know she's good. The subject was obviously still a sore subject and the sticking point between the pair, as Dakota then jumped into a pouting teenager for a moment before snapping at her mother by saying, alright, you don't have to see it, Jesus Christ. The uncomfortable exchange between the two then set social media on fire, inspiring some harsh criticism and some pretty serious tweets. However, near the end of the night, Melanie would opt to tell Dakota that she would watch the film just so she could smooth things over between her and her daughter. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming number 8, we have Shailene Woodley. So during most interviews, Shailene Woodley is always known for being really blunt when it comes to her answering questions, especially when the questions make her feel uncomfortable. During one incident on the red carpet, Shailene had a pretty awkward encounter that caused her to be dumbfounded when it came to the reporter's question. In the interview, the reporter looked at the actor and then out of nowhere asked her if she was hungry before noting that she herself was hungry. Shailene then reacted in a way that was pretty awkward and rude in the moment, as she looked at her interviewer like she was crazy and said, well, you should probably eat. I don't think any of us really blame Shailene in this situation for being rude, as it was such a weird question and comment to come from a reporter. Not to mention, there were so many questions that the reporter could have asked her, but she chose to ask the actor if she was hungry, because you aren't going to get a genuinely nice answer to that question. Number 7, Selena Gomez. During a red carpet interview in 2017 Billboard Woman in Music event, Selena would be asked about how Justin Bieber impacted the person she is today, and the singer and actor responded by being a little standoffish when she said, I don't think anyone else cares. I think for me, what's been great is that I've been able to live the life I wanted for myself, and it doesn't always look the way people think it should. But it's not really my concern anymore. Look, my family is great, my health is great, I love deeply, and that's just who I am. I'm not really ashamed. While the actress claimed that no one really cared about her and Justin's relationship, the Twitter reactions would definitely prove otherwise to Selena's response, as one fan would say, Selena Gomez and Justin Bieber will definitely last this time if they're both on the same page romantically. And then another fan would note, so as dumb as this sounds, I'm so happy when I heard Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez are back together. It's that relationship I basically grew up with and I feel as if I'm invested in. My heart was so full when I heard the news. Even today, people are still fond on the idea that the former couple may cross paths yet again in the future, and it's gotten to the point that every time Justin is happy with another woman, his fans still chant Selena's name. Number 6, Jim Carrey. Back in 2017, Jim Carrey was clearly just really bored, so the comedian decided he would randomly show up to a New York red carpet event. While on the red carpet, he made his way to a reporter, and then he ended up telling her that the only reason he showed up to the event is because he was trying to find the most meaningless event he could attend. If the interview wouldn't get any more funnier due to his odd behavior, he then went on this really weird rant where he stated that icons and personalities don't really exist by saying, I don't believe in icons, I don't believe in personalities. I believe that peace lies beyond personality, an invitation in disguise, beyond the red S on your chest that makes bullets bounce off. I believe that it's deeper than that. I believe we're a field of energy dancing for itself, and I don't care. He then turned into one of his comedic characters before walking away when he came to the conclusion to his rant and said, we don't matter. Number 5, Kim Kardashian. Back in 2019, Kim Kardashian awkwardly interrupted her older sister during an interview on the E! People's Choice Awards red carpet, when E! anchor Juliana Rancic asked Kourtney Kardashian who designed her bra-bearing glittering suit interview. She began to say she didn't plan her answer in advance, but then she was cut off when Kim decided to lunge in front of her and start to hype their new fragrance collaboration by saying, all that matters is that we're wearing KKW Diamond. We're all wearing that. She then went on to tell Kourtney, I was saving you since you didn't know who you were wearing. That was my save. Kourtney then went on to correct Kim by saying, no, it was Naeem Khan. I just didn't know how to pronounce it. Despite the awkward moment, Kourtney didn't appear to mind the publicity, but Kim didn't need to interrupt her sister's interview to support her new line, as the world was already talking about it. Number 4, Jennifer Lawrence. So back in 2012, Josh Hutcherson was in an interview on the red carpet for the Catching Fire press tour when Jennifer Lawrence thought it would be a good idea to punk her co-star while he was in mid-interview by asking him how his rash was doing. Later, Josh would then open up about the incident on The Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, and there he would reveal that Jennifer had this history of punking him, and while making rounds on the red carpet, he then admitted at one time mid-interview she breezed past him and asked him, hey Josh, how's the rash doing? Josh then looked extremely embarrassed before he went on to note that Jennifer was actually really crazy. The reporter then went on to question Josh about the incident, and he said, oh, my rash, yeah, my rash is doing fantastic. Don't worry about that. I love Jennifer. The actor was obviously really uncomfortable with Jennifer's uncalled move. He wanted to end the interview and opted to say, I gotta go back to take care of the rash before running away from his interview. Number 3, Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj is known for speaking her mind, so back in 2013, after she had a mouthful to say after a not-so-good interview with Access Hollywood's correspondent, Laura Saltman, the Anaconda rapper would then throw some serious shade at the reporter on the red carpet after Laura asked the rapper about her recent Twitter rant, which included catty words about fellow American Idol judge Mariah Carey, and she snapped back and refused to answer the question. When Laura asked, are you looking forward to the end of American Idol? Because I know there were Twitter comments you made today that caused quite a stir. Nicki would then respond by saying, that question didn't even make sense, so if you want to insinuate what you're talking about, I'm not going to. Before Laura could even respond, Nicki would then roll her eyes, say goodnight, and walk away. In light of the diss, Saltman then decided to express her feelings in a blog posted to Access Hollywood's website, where she labeled Nicki as a mean girl and cyberbullying, perpetuating the problems of social media. Number 2, Amber Heard. Back in 2015, Amber would be captured giving her mom a stern lesson on the red carpet about the rules she has to follow as her mom joined her at a glitzy film premiere. At the time, Amber was still married to Johnny Depp, and she decided to bring her mother along for the ride at a screening of Johnny's new flick at the time, Black Mass, at Toronto's International Film Festival. Her proud mom then watched from the sidelines as Amber oozed in this striking black dress in front of the camera. However, the actress was less than impressed when she spotted her mom talking to a nearby cameraman. In a video captured, the star's mom could be seen in the video identifying herself to a man from Kiss 92.5, where she proudly gushed saying she was Amber's mom. Amber then stormed towards her mother and interrupted the interview, and in the video you could see Amber's face. It was so stony that she may as well have been embarrassed by her mom in front of friends at a playground. She then quickly grabbed her mother, gave her a warning by saying never make eye contact. And coming in at number 1 today, we have Nicole Kidman. Nicole Kidman wasn't necessarily rude, but she did get a pretty funny response from Tom Hiddleston when she briefly interrupted him during an interview at the Golden Globes one year. Tom was in the middle of his interview talking to Liza Koshy about one of his shows, and Nicole decided to insert herself in between Tom and Liza and then quickly said, that's enough talking. While Nicole was clearly just pulling Tom's leg, at first he was a bit taken back by Nicole's actions, and it did take him a bit to notice that Nicole was doing a quirky little bit. Once the actor realized Nicole was only joking, he then quickly joined in on the fun. He then conducted a quick impromptu moment in the interview with Nicole, and it was definitely a moment that was awkward for a second, but then everybody laughed it off.
At number 10, we have Tom Cruise's bizarre 2005 Today Show interview, where Matt Lauer asked the actor about his Brooke Shield's use of antidepressants comment. Everyone's favorite Scientology poster boy completely flipped out by calling Matt glib and stating he didn't understand psychiatry as Tom does and only communicates it. Therefore, Matt shouldn't be speaking on things he doesn't understand. The Church of Scientology has been notoriously known to be opposed to psychiatry, by the way. However, Tom's press tour incident also came with Matt questioning if his KDPDA scene was a publicity stunt, and the damage to Tom's reputation from that point was enough to have him in a single movie per year, until he reemerged on the public's good side with his 2008 role in Tropic Thunder. At that point, he was no longer publicly speaking about Scientology though. Matt has since admitted to Howard Stern that a publicist of Tom's had rung him prior to a segment airing with attempts to remove that portion of the sit-down, and Cruise had also issued an apology to him. At number 9, we have the formerly popular band 5 Seconds of Summer, who managed to alienate both their fans and the general public from a single Rolling Stone interview. In a December 2015 published piece, Michael Clifford was hungover from the performance the night before the interview, where he dished that they were surrounded by a load of phony people. He also detailed how they partied with Justin Bieber despite remarks that the Canadian singer allegedly hated them. Their drummer Aston Irwin further pushed that their female-dominated fanbase had them needing to prove that they were a quote real band and not just doing it for the girls. However, frontman Luke Hemmings counteracted this claim by over-explaining that the four young men were constantly placed in situations on their tour bus where they were surrounded by a lot of girls. He also suggested that the possibilities were quote endless when they were asked if they sleep with multiple people at once on the same night. It's safe to say we all know why we haven't heard much of them since. At number 8, we have the 2008 R. Kelly interview that flew his career further off the rails amidst his allegations of inappropriately messing around with aged girls. Journalist Tor sat down with R. Kelly where he outrightly asked during part of the interview if Kelly favored teenage girls. In response, Kelly questioned how old Tor was referencing, and a visibly taken aback Tor doubled down with clarification of what he meant. Kelly had to be sure though, so he asked if Tor was talking about 19-year-olds specifically, to which Tor responded confirming that he meant that and younger. R. Kelly then went on a spiel about how he has friends who were underage or freshly new to adulthood, but that he's allegedly never done anything to nor with them, and that the journalist shouldn't listen to people on his team who he previously fired. Tor later took to a Daily Beast interview to speak on his R. Kelly media run-in, where he admitted that upon BET's airing, R. Kelly's team demanded it be wiped off the face of the internet, but it was seemingly too late to stop the downward spiral that was R. Kelly's career. At number 7, we have the awkwardest Tom Hiddleston interview to exist, following his February 2000 GC dish, where he discussed his then split from singer Taylor Swift. In regards to this, Tom complimented his and Taylor's relationship immensely, speaking about how they were lovely together and their relationship was indeed real. Tom was even asked about his infamous I Heart TS tank, where he explained it stemmed from a friendly game which later became a joke between their friend group at the time. Tom was apparently extremely earnest during this interview, which reportedly landed him at his interviewer's hotel room door at 6 a.m. to clarify the points he made about Taylor during the interview, detailing that he was quote crushed by the end of their relationship. Since Tom's roles did in fact dry up, aside from his Loki reprisals, his 2019 Skull Island role, and his occasional voiceover work. At number 6, we have Jim Carrey and his famous wallflower and overwhelmingly dark interview style. There isn't just one to chalk this up to, rather plenty, but the greatest example is most likely his New York Fashion Week interview from the Harper Bazaar's Icons party. The multiple questions on icons at the event caused Jim to calmly spiral, and the reactions of the interviewer were nothing short of amusing. The awkward event in question harbored viral-worthy comments to prompts, like Jim saying stuff like, "There's no meaning to any of this, so I wanted to find the most meaningless thing that I could come to, and here I am. This is just the absolute lowest aiming possibility that we could come up with. I don't believe in icons, I don't believe in personalities. I believe we're a field of energy dancing for itself, and I don't care." Much like other interviews in the past, such as Jim's Iowa University of Management 2014 meeting, he's made similar remarks which turned heads. Overall though, to the reporter's best effort, she could not save the interview from all the meme-worthy moments it soon took on. And despite his former success, we haven't really heard much of Jim nowadays, have we? At number 5, we have Jesse Eisenberg and his once socially awkward title being spun into that of a jerk in the wake of his Univision and Associated Press interviews. When he spoke with Associated Press, he detailed his Comic-Con experience to be difficult, even going so far as to label it as quote some kind of side. The highly insensitive remark obviously raised some horror, and when he attempted to clear his name, it fell on deaf ears. Moreover, his clarification came with the words, "I'm a normal person who has normal sensory experiences." So Comic-Con was very overwhelming for me. And let's just say people were not here for it. As for his Univision chit-chat, while promotions for Now You See Me were occurring, Jesse referred to the interviewer as the Carrot Top of interviewers, which many deemed as straight up rude. If you don't know, Carrot Top is a comedian who the interviewer labeled as quote horrible, so I'm sure you can see how that was insulting. Anyway, despite Jesse's need to prove his dislike for the process of interviews, he should probably rein in some points from his fellow industry buddy Kristen Stewart, who's expressed her own feelings of not enjoying public press appearances before finding her own path. At number 4, we have Paris Hilton's startling 2011 ABC interview, which showed proof of her still seemingly viewing herself as the top reality TV star worldwide, despite the media princess being overshadowed by her former assistant turned bestie Kim Kardashian. It's clear throughout the sit-down that Paris attempted to remain calm, but the grilling of the reporter, seemingly intent on discounting her worth, most likely set Paris off. When she was questioned on whether or not she believed her time as a reality star was donezo, Paris took that as her cue to exit stage left, leaving the set altogether. Some say she must not have been ready to accept what the world apparently already knows, that her chapter had officially reached its end long before her interview. Yikes. At number 3, we have the Australian newspaper interview with Denzel Washington, who seemed to make it apparent he didn't have extra time to deal with the press. His endless amount of sighs even caused him to go instantly viral. Reportedly, the interviewer flew miles and miles to do a press junket with Denzel, but at first it seemed he'd be a no-show. Thankfully, he did end up coming to the press junket, which is common in the industry to get quick dishes on celebrity to gain more buzz for them and the companies the interviewers are under. Understandably, this process is referred to as awkward and repetitive, and well, Denzel seemed to be no different. And while some actors are good sports, others like Julia Roberts and Tommy Lee Jones don't try nearly as hard. Apparently, Denzel joined this list shortly after. In the end, the interviewer's charm and persistence managed to get him engaged and somewhat more responsive than the daunting, cold exterior Denzel seemed to exude at first. Denzel even mentioned wanting to watch a suggested clip from the interviewer. But despite this, a year later, someone uploaded the interview to YouTube with the tagline of "arrogant rude interview" that's been watched millions of times. Unfortunately for Denzel, this just wasn't one of his best, but thankfully, the reporter still ended up having a great time overall. At number 2, we have Robert Pattinson's Twilight press frenzy, where it was obvious Robert was against any conversations regarding his then rumored relationship with his former co-star and ex-girlfriend Kristen Stewart. Naturally though, this became the burning red question in every media outlet, as everyone was clearly itching to ask Robert what their status was at the time. One of these people included Ryan Seacrest, who questioned him on his on-air show about what the ground of their relationship was. Robert was prompted to flee by his agent, and surprisingly, he did just that. In conclusion, Robert is no stranger to being around the center of awkward interviews, which clearly makes it harder for the general public to look at him in a more positive aspect. At number 1, we have the Kanye West comment that nearly ended this man's whole career, and that was his revealed thoughts on slavery. Warning, this may anger you. Anyway, Kanye served up quite the controversy and massive backlash in the media when he took to a TMZ live interview to make a statement that pissed off the whole world. The public outcry forced people to question his mental stability again, and the comment in question was that he genuinely believes slavery is a choice. His views on the oppressive system were ignited not even a week following his Make America Great Again stunt, where he professed his admiration for then US President Donald Trump. On the show, he outlined his decision behind wearing the infamous baseball cap, which had since become a trademark in Trump's MAGA political movement. The conversation took a left though when Kanye spoke on slavery, where he was accompanied by conservative commenter Candace Owens, who is outspoken in the details of the centuries-long African-American struggles of spending their lives shackled in servitude. His comment was of course met with stunned silence, which included the media outlet's founder Harvey. Kanye explained, quote, "You hear about slavery for 400 years, that sounds like a choice. You were there for 400 years and it was all of y'all? It's like we're meant to be in prison. I like the word prison because slavery goes too direct to the idea of blacks. Prison is something that unites us as one race." One of the TMZ staff, Van, called West out to take responsibility for his words, where he ranted, "While you're living the life that you've earned by being a genius, the rest of us in society have to deal with these threats to our lives, with the marginalization that has come from the 400 years of slavery that you said for our people was a choice. Frankly, I'm disappointed, appalled, and unbelievably hurt by the fact that you have morphed into something that, to me, is not real." West issued an apology to Van before embracing him, and later wrote a statement on Twitter to further clarify his points. In it, the rapper detailed, "To make myself clear, of course I know that slaves did not get shackled and put on a boat by free will. My point is for us to have stayed in that position even though the numbers were on our side means that we were mentally enslaved. The reason why I brought up the 400 years point is because we can't be mentally imprisoned for another 400 years. We need free thought now, even if the statement was an example, just an idea."
In at number 10, Princess Diana. The royal family is one of the most secretive organizations in the world, so everyone couldn't believe it when Princess Diana decided to expose all of her dirty secrets on TV in 1995 in an interview with BBC journalist Martin Bashir. The interview was after her divorce with Charles, when she was the most scared of the family. During the program, she revealed her struggles with disordered eating after Prince Charles made comments about her weight, along with talking about her postpartum depression and the affair she knew Charles was having with Camilla. Diana even talked about her own love affair with her writing instructor, James Hewitt. Even worse, it was exposed years later that the reason Diana gave such a detailed interview is because she was being blackmailed by the journalist Martin Bashir. Bashir acted in a quote deceitful way and faked documents to obtain the interview, an inquiry by the BBC discovered. And at number 9, Drew Barrymore. Drew Barrymore exposed herself, literally, during an interview with David Letterman. While doing the interview, Barrymore asked if she could dance for him. Letterman said yes, and all of a sudden Drew was on top of his desk dancing around, and then she suddenly flashed him. She had her back turned to the audience who didn't see, but it was quite a shock to Letterman. Apparently it was Letterman's birthday, and Barrymore said this was her present to him. This was during the time that Barrymore was having a rebellious streak, and she had just posed for Playboy and was feeling very open about her body. Barrymore revealed years later that the moment was not planned, and while they were talking she had a light bulb moment and wanted to dance. And at number 8, Jason Segel and Paul Rudd. During a promotional interview for the movie I Love You Man, Segel and Rudd admitted to being totally stoned. And if you watch the interview, it's honestly not that difficult to tell. In the beginning, the pair start talking about other movies with a bromance storyline, going back and forth naming the best ones. And funny enough, all the movies they named have the word stone in it. Coincidence? I think not. The pair then start talking about Segel's imaginary friend and can't stop laughing while thinking about it. The interview was hilarious, but I'm sure the studio was not happy with how unprofessional that it was. And at number 7, Paula Abdul. Paula Abdul had a great public reputation because of her role as a judge on American Idol. But that good reputation went down the pipes after this eyebrow-raising interview. In 2007, she was live on air with Fox to talk about the upcoming season of Idol, but it was derailed almost instantly. In the interview, Paula was nothing like the woman we saw on Idol, and honestly she seemed drunk. She was slurring her words, behaving erratically, and just acting like a basket case. Paula later denied she was drunk, and a spokesperson claimed that there was a sound issue during the segment. 2 years later, the singer failed to renew her contract with American Idol and basically disappeared into obscurity. And at number 6, Katherine Heigl. Katherine Heigl was blacklisted from Hollywood after she called out the director of the hit comedy Knocked Up. In a now infamous Vanity Fair interview from 2008, Katherine Heigl slammed director Judd Apatow and called the movie a little sexist. She went on to talk more trash about her character in the film, adding, quote, "It paints the women as shrews, as humorless and uptight. It paints the men as lovable, goofy, fun-loving guys." This incident, along with some other drama of the Grey's Anatomy production, put a huge axe in her career and forced her to apologize. Many years later, Heigl spoke to the Washington Post about being branded as difficult after the comments and blasted the idea that a different opinion made her difficult. She was blacklisted from the industry for a few years, but is back working again and has admitted to her past mistakes. Halfway number 5, Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise's reputation has taken a dive for many reasons over the years, but one moment that really shocked fans was his interview with Matt Lauer. In the interview, his temper changes dramatically, showing the world that Cruise has a very short fuse. In the 2005 interview, Lauer asked Cruise about his comments criticizing Brooke Shields for taking antidepressants for her postpartum depression.
The thing that I'm saying about Brooke is that there's misinformation, okay? And she doesn't understand the history of psychiatry. She doesn't understand in the same way that you don't understand it, man.
Cruise kept going on that he doesn't agree with her decisions. When asked why, Cruise added, quote, "You don't know the history of psychiatry. I do," along with getting more combative as the conversation went on. That, in part with his sketchy divorce from Katie Holmes, made public opinion of him tank. And at number 4, Justin Bieber. An interview that Justin Bieber did with Mojo in the Morning was a complete disaster, for many reasons unfortunately. It started off on the wrong foot, when the interviewer said that Bieber's new music sounded like Justin Timberlake's. Later on, the interviewer asked, quote, "Do you worry about Harry Styles of One Direction around your mom since he likes older women?" Which is a really strange question to ask someone, like who would even think of that? Justin obviously thought it was very strange as well and clapped back, telling the reporter, quote, I think you should worry about me around your mom, bro. Since it was just a phone interview, Justin did not waste any more time and just hung up the phone. And at number 3, Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Tarantino can be quite controversial, and a lot of his movies get some sort of backlash. After the release of his hit movie Django Unchained, Tarantino did the media rounds to promote the movie. One reporter asked about the real-life implications of violence that the movie portrays. Instead of giving a thoughtful answer, Tarantino was annoyed about the question and firmly defended the movie. He replied, quote, "It's just a movie, it's just a fantasy," brushing off the question. When the reporter continued to press, Tarantino just straight up refused to answer and replied, quote, "I'm shutting your butt down." A little immature if you ask me. And at number 2, Mark Wahlberg. Showing up drunk to a live TV interview is probably the worst thing a celebrity can do, because there's nothing worse than revealing all your secrets because you're under the influence. While Wahlberg was on the Graham Norton show, he actually admitted that he was pretty drunk, most likely from the drinks he was given backstage in the green room. Wahlberg asked Norton, quote, "Why would you allow people to drink alcohol and come on a show?" Wahlberg tried to keep it together, but after some time he started doing the craziest things. At one point he sat on Norton's lap while rubbing his chest seductively. Obviously viewers loved it, but it was very inappropriate. And finally, number 1, Kourtney Kardashian. This one is super strange, and I'm not sure why this even took place, but either way, it's probably the weirdest interview moment that I have ever seen. Back in 2016, Kourtney was being interviewed on the Australian talk show Today Extra. Kourtney answered some simple questions, then the reporters asked about how Kim was doing after her intense robbery situation. Kourtney then started to answer, but then it looked like someone on her team started talking to her because Kourtney totally ignored the question and looked off camera to someone else, then just said okay. The reporters then asked Kourtney the question again and made it seem like she might have just been breaking up or something. But then Kourtney just sits there blankly looking off screen while the interviewers try to think of something else to ask her. When the host asked if someone else is talking to her, she said, "Yes, sorry." Then I guess the interviewers just cut Kourtney's feed and got on with the program. So that's all for the list, guys. Let me know your thoughts below. But before I go, I'm gonna shout out some comments from celebrities who tried to warn us about Miley Cyrus. M like US said, "I love Cher's response. It was such a sorry not sorry moment." That's why I absolutely love Cher and people like that. She wasn't regretting what she said. She's like, I said what I said and I meant it, but also I didn't need to be so mean about it. Maybe I didn't need to give my opinion, but she's like, I said what I said. Roberta said, "None of this surprises me, but I like all of them." Yeah, Miley is definitely an interesting character, and she's grown up and changed so much as the years have gone on, so we can't really hold these earlier moments against her. She's changed so much now, but yeah, we can still appreciate, where she's come from and where she is now. Then Jacob said, "I think that most of our celebrity haters deserve to be called out. Nicki Minaj has treated a lot of other female rappers in a negative way, and Liam knew that woman he married and tried to make her a different woman than who she is. Katy Perry had it coming, especially when you release a song about a woman kissing another woman, and John Mayer is a player." So definitely we had a lot of Miley defenders in the comments, and I completely agree. Just because someone did something negative about Miley or had a feud with her doesn't mean that other person was correct. In the Nicki Minaj feud, it was probably 50-50. Miley didn't need to call her mean, but also it's not the end of the world. She didn't need to call her out on stage. The Katy Perry one there's a lot of weird ones here, but still an interesting list.